Right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to what is actually our sixth of these Friday briefing specials from Israel. Just in case there's anyone new online, I am Judy Trotter. I head up adult education at JW3. Obviously, not there this morning. We've decided to do these, and we've found over the 7 weeks how important it is for us to connect with each other, to be together in person, but also to connect with Israel, which is what these Friday mornings have been about, and also to hear from the ground what it's like out there in all sorts of different ways. So, Avram, thank you so much for joining us on what we hope is a hopeful day, that things will move and the ceasefire will hold, and that the hostages that they've said they'll release, they will release, and we'll see a little bit of movement. Many of you on the screen will know Avraham. He's been coming to England and the rest of the world throughout his career. Came to Limud, he came to JW3, he was our guest keynote speaker for the Spiro annual tribute, and has continued to inspire us throughout all those years. He's probably best known for the five-leg table, and also his work on Jewish peoplehood. As usual, we'll take questions if there is time. Please put those in the chat as we're going along, and I will pose them for you if there is time. Avram, it's not an easy task, but what is uppermost in your mind this morning? And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much, Julie, and I want to thank JW3 for making this possible to share some of my thoughts with this audience. You gave me a very difficult task. I mean, the whole subject that you chose was, what are you thinking about? And I'm thinking about a lot of things, and you gave me 20 minutes to do the whole thing in. I'm going to try. It's not easy. So please bear with me. All I could do in preparation was prepare a list of words, and then I will talk trying to collect those words of things that enter my mind and that concern me during this very difficult time. First of all, this is the first morning in 6 weeks that I can hear myself talk. I don't have planes flying overhead and over our buildings. Constant noise for the since October 7th, are planes flying to Gaza. The silence is deafening. It is so different from what I was used to yesterday. It is now 4 hours exactly that we are in the midst of what our opponents are calling a ceasefire, and we are calling a brief stop in the fighting. There's a big difference because of where we see each other. The words that came to mind about the situation were shock, anger, fear, surprise, relief, admiration, hope, potential, and of course, peoplehood, which is my favorite subject. I want to try to connect those things if I can. The shock came to me on the morning of the 7th. I wake up to go to shul. I have my son and his daughter-in-law staying with me. As I open the door to leave the house, the air raid siren goes off and our phone starts to ring. The war had started. We'd been attacked, a brutal attack. What is happening? You've all heard of it. You've read it. You know what I'm talking about. Absolute brutality, unexpected, totally unexpected. My son and daughter-in-law had to leave me to go to their son and their family because both their son and daughter-in-law were both pulled up immediately on the 7th, and my son and his daughter-in-law and my daughter-in-law had to go and fill in for 7 weeks as parents of their 4 children. Not easy. I was angry. Somebody did not keep their eye on the ball. This came as a total surprise. It's not supposed to happen to us. We have a government whose responsibility is to ensure the welfare of its citizens. I am still angry, and they are going to have to pay the price for what they did when this war is over. I was fearful. I was fearful of two things. I have 16 grandchildren, and more than half of them were in the army at the time and were either in Gaza or in the north, in the front. When they got out of the army for a couple of hours to go to a funeral of somebody their own age. Those people are supposed to be going to funerals of people my age, not people their age. When I look at the faces of my children and I see the fear they have for their children, it's something I've never experienced before. It is beyond being explicable. I also feared something else. I love this country. I love this country deeply. I really felt that this country was in absolute danger. We are surrounded by enemies. And yet, over the last few years, we have built new relationships with Arab countries. The Emirates, Bahrain, potentially with Saudi Arabia. There was hope in the air, and it was clear that the reasons that they were willing to join us, because they admired us. They knew that we were very good at what we did. We were a powerful army. They knew that we were a very well-established economy. Well, if they have now been disappointed, my future in this country and our future looks very, very different. I have to admit that I was surprised. Two major things surprised me. First of all, the way in which this army, whose leaders and whose government had not kept their eye on the ball, remained perhaps the finest, most moral, most well-equipped, most strategic army probably in the entire world. They have undertaken a battle that has been phenomenal, fantastic, and they're pursuing it in the best way that anybody could possibly do. It's been absolutely amazing. What a relief. What a relief. What a difference between our military and our political leadership. But that relief moved to admiration. I'm not a kid. I'm over 80 years old. I don't serve in the army. I have to do something. So I volunteered. I will never again, Judy, eat another cheese sandwich. I've prepared with these two hands over 35,000 cheese sandwiches over the time. Volunteering and going and sitting in large halls with an amazing, amazing, amazing representatives of Israeli society. Haredim, young girls with short skirts. Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, right-wingers, left-wingers, Arabs, Druze of my age, coming out and volunteering and working together to prepare food for soldiers and for people who were removed from their homes. What an uplifting and what an amazing moment of excitement and admiration for the country I love and for its citizenry. This country has pulled together in such an exciting way that I felt the sense of, wow, wow. We've been through a year of people trying to disunite us, and they failed. We are united. and not only about Israel. Because what did we talk about around that table? Were the reactions to things that are happening outside. Many Jews in the diaspora are becoming more involved, more united. And we were wary for them because we see the pictures of the anti-Semitism that's going on. We see the demonstrations going on in London, that massive demonstration. It's not the London that I recall, Judy. These were not the people out there. And you know what they were saying? Palestine, from the river to the sea. Well, that means Palestine without us, our absolute destruction. And there were a lot of non-Muslim images there. They were all, not all, Arabs. There were others. Your governments have been fantastic, and Israel needed the love and support that we are getting. Your recently appointed new foreign secretary has been wonderful, as great as Biden that was at the beginning, giving us the love and the warmth that our own government should have given us. They just visited this week from London, and it was a really moving moment to see them here and listen to them talk here in Israel. Wow, something serious is happening in this air. Avram, you're a crazy nut about Jewish peoplehood. You've spent your life talking about it, and now you're experiencing it yet in Israel to the maximum. And it doesn't only relate to Israel. They were talking about with real concern their fellow Jew in the diaspora. I moved from there to a hope. You see, something very unique is happening. This sense of pulling together is happening simultaneously in Israel and in the diaspora. And it's affecting the masses on the street. I think many Jews who have been more removed from the Jewish world are going to return to the fold. We may lose some, and I'm going to talk about them later because I feel very sorry for those who don't understand what Israel is all about. Let me tell you a little bit about what this Israel is all about. 75 years after the Holocaust, 6 million of our people are destroyed. We're scattered all over the world. And modern European nationalism is fulfilled in the creation of a national home for the Jewish people. There are only two nations that were deeply affected by European nationalism that were not people who, when they changed from people to a nation, they remained in their homes. They drank the same wine. They had the same tea at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They didn't make a massive change. They took a change in understanding in moving from being a people to becoming a nation. But we Jews created a nation. We, the people who were scattered throughout the entire world, came back to this country and created a nation. We knew that we were not all the same. We knew that we were not uniform. But we knew that without unity, we would succeed in doing nothing. It's becoming clear to me today that that magic power of struggling to be unified, even when you're not uniform, provided Israel with the impetus and the ability to become among the most advanced state in the world in so many different areas. in science, in physics, and of course in high tech and in medicine. It was unbelievable. You witnessed, that's what Israel was to me. By the way, Israel was a people who created a state. There was another exception to the world of modern nationalism. The French people simply said, we're no longer a people, we're a nation, and they continued their lives. We were a people that created a nation. America was a nation that created a people. And these two exceptions to the laws of modern nationalism is really, really what binds us in so many different ways with the United States of America. We are models of something different from what normal nationalism is. It's not easy. And then David Ben-Gurion on a Friday morning, the British mandate is about to end, gets up on a platform in Tel Aviv. He's got to announce the creation of the state of Israel. He doesn't say, I hereby announce the creation of the state of Israel. He makes a ridiculous statement. I hereby declare the creation of a Jewish state to be named Israel. What the heck is a Jewish state? It was something new that the world had to deal with, but more importantly, we had to deal with. And we've come from so many places in which we felt Jewish in different ways. We struggled with this. And we built this country that I loved so much and that it was now being endangered in my mind. But it led to hope, as I said, because simultaneously with our showing, our becoming a people, our being united, the success, the Jews of the diaspora were responding in a similar way. And for the first time, not only did I sense the wariness of diaspora Jews for the concerns for Israel, I very strongly felt the concerns of the Jews of Israel for the entire Jewish world. Now, I'm an educator. That's my field. That's why and I have no idea how many more minutes I've got, but I'm going to talk until you say to me, shut up, and then I'll stop. I'm an educator. What interests me very deeply is how can we dream together, the diaspora and Israel, of the potential of this moment, this potential of our both going through something of an earthquake. Israel is not going to be exactly the same Israel it was 7 weeks ago. And I don't think diaspora Jewry is going to be the same Jewry as it was 7 weeks ago. We're going to be going through changes, and we have to begin to talk to each other. What has got to change educationally to ensure that we remain united together, that we build our communities with a deep love for Israel, and that we build Israel with a deep concern for the life of the diaspora? We Jews, for most of our existence, were a people. Something happened to us when we met with modernity. Jews went different ways. Some Jews began to define themselves as a religion. Other Jews said, we want to stay in the ghetto, and they're still in the ghetto even in Israel. Other Jews said, we want to stop being Jewish. We want out of this ghetto. Others said, we want to be a nation. None of those understandings of what it means to be a Jew is all encompassing. If I make the statement that Judaism is a religion, I am making the statement really that if you're not religious, you're really not Jewish. And that's not true. And for Israelis, many Israelis were educated to understand that if you're not coming to Israel, you are not a full Jew. And that's not true. The only word, the only understanding, which is all-encompassing of whom we are, is the concept of Jewish peoplehood. We have to devote our time and our future and our togetherness and our unity to talking about what is this thing called Jewish peoplehood. And a moment ago, I saw Nitsa Spiro, a good friend with whom I worked 55 years ago. And she and her husband devoted their lives to the spreading of language. I want to talk for a moment about the importance of language in building peoplehood. Not only the Hebrew language, I'm going to come back to the Hebrew language in a moment. I want to talk about the language, never mind what lingo we speak, the language we use in order to define ourselves. We have to become very careful of the language we use in talking about ourselves. I want to give you several examples. The biggest of which is this crazy word of converting to becoming Jewish. Where in the world did we Jews ever get that ridiculous idea? You could never convert to a religion. And the more you make the statement, I am a religion, the more you knock nails into the coffin of Jewish peoplehood. We have to change our language. But that we draw that from real Hebrew language. Because when a non-Jew becomes a Jew, it's a very different process than when a Jew becomes a Catholic or a Protestant. When a Jew becomes a Catholic or a Protestant, he is converting to another religion, and the Hebrew word for that is Hamara. He is a Yehudi Mumar. By Jewish law, he remains a Jew. He may think he's a Catholic. Have I got news for him? By Jewish law, he's still a member of this Jewish people. He has converted. But when someone becomes a Jew, this word Hamara in Hebrew is never used and doesn't apply and was never used. The word to understand joining the Jewish people was the word Giyur, Ger. That has nothing to do with conversion. The word Ger comes from the Hebrew word lagur, to live with, to share the goral, the fate of these people.
Abraham, I'm going to do what you asked me to, which was to stop you when I was ready to stop you. We've had a couple of questions. I want to bring you back into.
I'll give me 2 more minutes.
Absolutely.
So we have to understand that the language we use, and when we continue to teach children how to read, I'm sorry, you have to give me 1 more minute to tell a joke, a story about a Catholic priest and a Protestant minister and a Jewish rabbi who meet together, and they're talking about what are the big problems that maybe they share. And the priest opens up his mouth. He says, I have a big problem. My church is overrun with mice. I didn't know what to do. I called the community together. We collected all the mice. We put them into boxes. We drove them out of town. We let them loose. And 2 days later, they were all back. And the Protestant minister says, my God, I never knew you had that problem. That's the same problem we have. Our church is overrun with mice and I can't get rid of them. We took them 40 miles out of the city, and in 4 days they were all back. The rabbi's sitting there with a smile. And he says, we had that problem, but we solved it. They said, how did you solve it? He said, we collected all the mice. I gave them a bar mitzvah, and I've never seen them since. Bittiger gelächter. It's not what a laugh, it's a joke. If we teach the Hebrew language because we have to pray in the Hebrew language, and we teach it only to children, we are again undermining Jewish peoplehood. My hope that this moment may be the big moment for the future of Jewish peoplehood. And I call on Jews throughout the world to think about this and to find the time to devote to ensuring that this happens. Again, Judy, thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you. I have two questions. I'm not actually finishing you just yet. One is, obviously the universities were due to open 2 days after, and all the schools, 2 days after the attack with happening on Sukkot, Simchat Torah. We're talking about education and the future. How is that, the impact of that? We've seen it during COVID, all of us over the world, that there was a huge impact in mental health and not being able to settle afterwards. Do we assume the same is going to happen in Israel? How is that going to be able to be tackled? And I'm not expecting a full answer, obviously, just...
I can't give a full answer, but I do believe that it's going to have to be, we're going to have to help our young people, and we're going to have to help our rabbis, and we have to help our teachers, and we have to help our Jewish communities understand what a people are. We've never educated really to peoplehood. You cannot create a people without knowing that that's what you're supposed to be creating to. Education works, Judy. You know how I know education works? The Hamas educated their children that Jews were vermin. And then when you let them loose, they could do what they did to Jews. They couldn't have done that if they weren't educating that Jews are vermin. They learned that from the Nazis. We have to learn that being Jewish is being a member of a people. It is a covenantal people. It is a people with a moral instinct. It's a people that have traditions and memories. If we do that, I haven't answered your question, but
it's fine, because what you said at the end leads me on to the next one very nicely. So can you see that there were an end to this war? And if you do see an end, what do you think it would look like?
Hamas will never again be part of ruling anything neighboring us. That's the one thing that is for sure. Whatever happens now, for as long as the ceasefire or this thing goes on, we're going to go back to battle until we remove any possibility from Hamas, because you have to understand that Hamas was not in a war with Israel. They have no complaints about Israel. They don't have a battle over borders with us. They don't want a Palestinian state. That's not what they're after. Hamas was devoted in a battle against Jews and the denial of the Jews to have a state anywhere. They will never be able to do that. People say you cannot get rid of an idea like Hamas. It's a concept, it's an idea. You know, Nazism still lives in the world, but there is no Nazi state. There will never again be a Hamas state. We will have to learn that not all Palestinians are Hamas. We're going to have to search them out, because Palestinians are going to have to be part of what lies alongside the state of Israel. Just in Gaza, there are over 2 million of them. We are not out to kill them or to destroy them. We are out to remove Hamas from being able to be a part of this. So what I really believe has had to happen is that after this war, for a period of 2 or 3 years, an international force of Western Europeans, Palestinians, Israel and America is going to have to provide a rule over Gaza until we can come to a better, I don't want to use the word a final solution. That's the worst term I could possibly use, until we can find a suitable solution to the issue. Hamas cannot be part of that solution.
That's a beautiful ending to the half an hour. We will continue to watch the news. We will continue to talk. Please continue to come to JW3, those of you that can come, and to be on Zoom, those of you who can't. Avraham, thank you so much. It's lovely to see you, and I'm just sorry it's under these circumstances. I hope you will join us again, and it will be even more hopeful. But how nice that we even have something this morning to look forward to, rather than the last few weeks. I wish everybody
look forward to that. Thank you.
Avraham, thank you. Take care,
Have
everyone.
a good Shabbat, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.